Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm a good old-fashioned cowboy just looking to punch dick.
And today, we're going to be going over Cyberpunk Augmented for the second time by Emanoel Melo, a tabletop RPG where you play as a team of runners, mercs, criminals, and activists living on the edge and running in the shadows of a gritty, ultraviolet world. Ultraviolent. I think grasslands here. So we're how's we're doing it again.
We are doing it again.
For those that don't follow us on Blue Sky, we did this episode a week ago, and the audio, just everything, just technology, and very much of it is dead silent. So we have to do it again. But we've talked about it. It is a blessing in disguise. This is the first review in our new format, and being able to do it once and then see, well, at least experience it, because we can't go back and watch it again, and see kind of what we would do differently. Now we're kind of more prepared. But yeah, how you doing, buddy?
Great. How are you?
You know, just wonderful.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. Actually excited to be doing this again. A lot of stuff has happened in the last weeks that made this I guess even more kind of like appropriate of a day to do it. Stuff we've done, things like that.
Yeah, I ran this actually this past week. I ran Mind the Gap, the entry adventure for my at-home game.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to be talking about that on the show. It was really great timing for you to be able to pump that out. And you said you also read.
Oh, I listened to Neuromancer on audiobook. Actually, I started before we started the last episode, I think, and I just jogged through it. A really insane novel. Like truly a very strange sci-fi written by an old guy, you know?
Yeah. When did that book even come out? Isn't it kind of the progenitor of like the whole cyberpunk thing?
Yeah. So Neuromancer by William Gibson came out in 1984, and there definitely is an existence of cyberpunk previous to this, but this is definitely, it seems like from my perspective, the first like major like cyberpunk novel that really kind of defined the series.
Yeah, or the genre.
The genre, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been on my list forever. But you know, I'm very deep in the Horus Heresy. So yeah, if I take a break, it's other Warhammer until I finish the Horus Heresy. So, but I've slowed down every time I run into the brick wall of Nick Kime, and it slowly filters away my desire to live and breathe until I finish it.
Right.
But what else have you been up? What? So this segment going forward is going to be our like about us segment, because whether you people care about it or not, I don't really care about me either, but I care about you, buddy. What else have you been up to this past week?
Not a lot. I bought a paddleboard for myself because I live within like 45 minutes of like 5 lakes, and I like paddleboarding. And also, I had some interesting discussions on our Discord about the game we're going to talk about today. Which we'll also get into at some point. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I threw some more paint on some minis. I got some rust effects down on a test model for some Night Lords. Pushed it pretty far with some Villainy ink from Grimdark Compendium.
I think I saw that on the Discord as well.
Yeah, and some Dirty Down rust effects. Which is the most insane shit ever, because I don't understand how the liquid becomes rust, but it's literally rust, and the different ways you water it down with like the mineral spirits makes it different kinds of. It's the craziest thing ever. I literally had to. It's the most insane shit, dude. Like I can't even. It's fucking magic. Like I don't understand how this brown liquid gets put on and suddenly everything just like rusts away. Like it's insane. But I had painted one of the shoulders red for Night Lords, mimicking one of the things from the Horus Heresy books, like the tabletop game books, and the rust got a little too orange, so it blended too much with the red, so I had to like bring it down a little bit, even though it looked cool as shit with some of the Villainy ink sector rust. So just learning how to do, this week I learned how to do enamel washes and some rust effects, so very cool. the whole point of that test model was basically to do as much texture as I could on it, to see how much is too much, to do as much rust as I could, to see how much was too much, and really excited to keep doing that. I just got to snag some more test models, and then I'm going to work on my my Nemesis Claw, and then we're going to start something maybe we'll talk about at the end of the show, which I kind of have a segment name for already. But today we are going to be looking at let's do this. Today we are going to be looking at
what are we going to be looking
Cyberpunk. Yeah. We're going to look at Cyberpunk Augmented, as I said before. So why don't we hop into that? We're going to give you some info about the game. We're going to unbox the game because, as I showed up before, anyone that hasn't seen Cyberpunk Augmented, the box set that it comes with is incredible. It's insane. So let's talk about Cyberpunk Augmented a little bit. Cyberpunk in general, because now there's, I think, 3 versions, right? So Cyberpunk runs on a super condensed version of John Harper's Forged in the Dark system, which, trust me, we'll talk about today. Specially tweaked for action-packed one-shots. In each game, you play an entire new cast of characters, making their last run. Everything you need to play is presented as a series of 8 panel pamphlets. You get the GM's Guide, the runner file, and the framework. Those are the 3 core pamphlets. The Augmented gives you more than that. The original Cyberpunk was published on itch on January 5th, 2021. The V1 original pamphlets aren't listed anymore on the page, but with the right hyperlink, you can find it. But it looks like the project was originally itch funded for $150, and that goal was passed in less than 2 hours. And then Cyberpunk Augmented, which is the box set, we'll unbox in a second, launched on Kickstarter with Mythworks, which I think at the time was called Mythopia, on May 14th, 2022, and funded on April 7th, 2022, with 2,059 backers for $52,558 on a $10,000 goal. It was then released on itch and ttrpg in May of 2023, about a year later, which I assume is when the distribution was all done for the Kickstarter. It was nominated for numerous awards in both North and South America. And at the 2024 Ennies, it was nominated for Best Product of the Year and won the Silver Ennie for Best Layout and Design. And I don't know if you saw today, but the Ennie nominations for 2025 dropped today. Promised myself I wouldn't be a hater on May and the day the nominations dropped, but this episode will not be coming out. So I'll say what I really think. The Ennies are a fucking joke. And the fact that this game did not win Product of the Year and Best Layout and Design of the Year, and the game that did win, proves it's a fucking joke.
Yeah. There's not a better product and design in most tabletop games that I like, maybe that I prefer to play more, you know?
Yeah. This is insane.
It is insane.
Yeah. So as far as our feelings on the Ennies, trust me, you'll never see us on it because we're not that good, but also because we're never going to nominate ourselves, because once again, I do think they're a fucking joke. Here's my hottest, I've already given my hottest take. If you were nominated, you already won. Because from this point on, once the nominations are out, it's just a popularity contest, which means the big publishers and people with big social media followings are gonna win. So congratulations if you got nominated. You're a winner in my book. The awards are now over. I blocked the word on Blue Sky. And don't even get me started on the AI credit awards. So that's it for the Ennies. Cyberpunk Overload is also out on Kickstarter right now. This is the first official expansion for Cyberpunk. I keep saying Cyberpunk. It is Cyber+PNK, technically. So Cyber+PNK is on Kickstarter right now. The campaign ends Thursday, July 10th, which I believe is next week. It's a collection of one-shot scenarios, gear catalogs, plug-in rule sets, and complete settings, bundled into 3 sleek thematic packs. Those are Sprawl Overload, Tech Overload, and Redacted Overload, all of which contain numerous pamphlets, up to 6 each with stretch goals. I think the Sprawl Overload one might have, there's 4, 3, and 6, whatever already, and as the stretch goals are met, Hopefully they'll be able to unlock. I think it's all 18 packets. Very excited for that. If you get a chance to peek at it, maybe I'll pull the website up. But it's going to be a similar format. It's going to have like this slipcase box. It's gorgeous. It looks like all digitized with some like holographic stuff on it. It's a stunning looking box. I'm very excited for it. And even just to have it because it's beautiful, whether I ever play it or not.
Yeah.
But that is what's going on with cyber+PNK. The next thing we're going to do is show you what's inside this beautiful, beautiful box. And for that, I've set up the camera.
Down cam.
Yeah. Let's go here. Ooh, it's already set up. Boom. So, for those in podcast land, again, the segment's not for you, I guess. So the box it's a zine box. It's a gorgeous yellow, a very, very yellow. If you imagine yellow, this is what I imagine, like a hazard yellow.
Yeah, absolutely. Hazard yellow is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Across one side, it says CBR in gray with cyber written inside with the plus on the side. Flip it over, it says PNK with punk written inside in gray and light gray on the yellow. Got some stuff on the sides, which is nice because when you set up on a shelf like a book, it says cyberpunk augmented Emanoel Melo. It's got the Mythworks logo and like a D20, and that's what it is on both sides there. So beautiful box. It's a slip case. You slip the top off, and you're left with the piece inside, which folds open into two separate pieces. All the way through, everything is very. It's got as much like what do you even call these things? Like the lines on the side, like the digital effect kind of things, like
decoration. They're like layout decoration, you know.
But not only that, I don't know if you felt it, but like a lot of it is raised, like acknowledgement, like all of these stripes on the side, they're a little bit textured too, so it's more than just the visuals. And here on the front it says, "We have one last job for you, runner. One last chance to clean off your debt. Do you accept? Yes or no?" And the cursor is selected on the Y. And it says, "You better not glitch this up." Gorgeous. On the back, it says Cyberpunk Augmented, created, written, and designed by Emanoel Melo. The Cabinet of Curiosities, edited by Ray Chow. Covers by Louis Melo. Additional editing, Eric Sofchi. Additional layout, Raul Rinaldi. Everything in this was written by Emanoel Melo except for Cyberpunk Hunters, which we'll look at. It's one of the zines that was created by Cat Scratcher Studios, and Mona Rise Megalopolis, which was created and designed by Leonardo Azevedo. As always, I apologize for butchering all of your names. But when you flip it open, it's hard to describe this. There's flaps on both sides, and there's a thing at the top that says open. You open the flaps, and the backgrounds of those flaps have just insane cyberpunk style artwork. It's like very techy, like Windows, as in like the windows on your computer with things inside, Switchblade, Sigma
like
Visage,
little warning modals, or like, you know, like popping up on your screen, like you're a hacker.
And then there's 4 more flaps, 2 up top and 2 on the bottom, and the 2 on the left say slot 1 left. The 2 on the right say slot 1 right. And then on the left side it says game moderator, and on the right side it says runner. If you open up the right side, what you get is the Cyberpunk zine, which we'll look at. You get 5 runner files, which is kind of like the player version, the player edition of the zine. On the left side you get framework, which is the third part of the core. And framework is basically what I would actually call the GM guide. We'll go over that a little bit more. And then you get 5 zines. So first one is called Plus Weird. It is a plugin to install supernatural elements. So magic in your game, and magic like creatures. What did I say? What's that awful movie that could have been good that I said this was like? Bright. This is like
Bright.
that movie Bright.
Yeah. It's like the Shadowrun plugin.
That's what you said. That's what you said last time too. Yeah, I keep forgetting because I've never read Shadowrun. The next one is called Predator, PRDTR. This is a setting where runners must navigate the collapse of a lunar habitat. It's very much Predator, the movie. It is the design and layout of it. I'll flip through that visually when we get to another part of it. There's Mind the Gap, which is the starter adventure. for the game. This is what you ran, right?
Yeah, I ran it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about
genuinely
that.
a solid starter adventure.
Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit more. There's there is Cyberpunk Hunters, which provides pre-made elite operatives focused on taking the players down, and rules to quickly build, modify, and incorporate them into your runs. And last but not least is Mona Rise Megalopolis, which allows you to create runs that reference William Gibson's Sprawl novel trilogy, which now you are much more familiar with.
Yeah, I'm through book one.
Yeah. But every single one of these is absolutely stunning. They're gorgeous. Every aspect of this is stunningly, beautifully gorgeous. I love the way that it is, 6 zines in each side. And yeah, so that is the unboxing of the Cyberpunk physical slipcase Cyberpunk augmented set. Stunning. Again, one of the best form factors ever created. Yeah, 1 or 2. I would say I recently remembered I have something that might compete with this for number 1. So this is the top 1 or 2 best form factors in a TTRPG I believe I've ever seen. And once again, the fact that this didn't win I'm not saying game, best product and best layout and design and the Ennies that it came out, really solidified my opinion of the Ennies, which I gave already, which you can reference by rewinding. But it's stunning, it's gorgeous, and we're going to get into a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do, as far as how we're going to outline this going forward, instead of reading the entire fucking thing, normally when we would read the book and do the full read through, I would go through most of the rules. Hunter would go through most of the character generation. We're still going to do that. I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of the rules and mechanics, and then Hunter's going to do a quick breakdown of character generation, and we're going to try to do that in about 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. So let's see how that goes. So I'm just going to hide the down cam so I can get this out of my way, and just bring up this beautiful zine cover real quick so you guys can look at that while I talk about the rules here. So the gist of the game, the gist of the mechanics of the game is that it is forged in the dark. It is very much forged in the dark. It is based on Blades in the Dark from John Harper. I have allowed myself 5 minutes later to talk about that, and I will do my best right now to not talk about Blades and to just talk about this game. So Cyber+PNK is mostly designed for one-shots, and it revolves around the character's last run, which is a high-stakes operation with a clear objective. The GM prepares an outline for the run or generates one as they go. Players file their runners, aka they make characters, which Hunter's going to go over. The players make an engagement plan or main course of action, and then try to achieve the objective that is part of the last run. They go on the run, seeking to complete the objective, eventually running into the last obstacle, the final obstacle. And then after the mission succeeded or failed, you immediately move into the epilogue of the characters and see how any reward they may have received from the run helps them leverage their angle or reason why they run. So it's basically the conclusion of the story. It is the epilogue. I would hope that everyone knows what an epilogue is, but once again, America, so can't be too sure. Mechanically, like I said, this is pure Blades in the Dark. The primary mechanic of which is the action roll. And basically how that works is the players describe what they want to accomplish, then choose the approach, skill, and other factors like gear that will help them accomplish that. Those are primary things, the approach and the skill. I'll go into that more in just a little bit. For anyone that has read Blades before, this is, again, it's pure Blades. It really does just distill it down. For anyone that hasn't, we'll get into that later too. So the action roll, as I said, the players choose the approach and the skill and the gear and all the other stuff. The GM assesses the risk and tells the players the probable consequences, and then they set the threat, capital T, and effect, capital E, which the players can choose to raise or lower for better or worse consequences, which may also be affected by any edges. All of those are buzzwords we'll get into more. Then the player rolls a number of dice equal to the approach and skill ratings. I think they only go up to, Hunter will talk about this more, I think they only go up to like 2 or 3 each. So the most you're rolling is like 4 or 5 d6 at a time, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And then any bonus dice you might get from some other special actions like push or assist. And you read the single highest result, kind of, unless you roll 2 6s, and that is a crit, which is a crit. You know what crits are. 6 is a success. 4 to 5 is a partial success, which is a phrase I fucking hate. And 1 to 3 is a failure. And that is the core of that. So let's break down a little bit of that a little bit more so you can understand that a bit. The threat, as I said, is the danger posed in the situation. And that can inform the harm level, ticks on a track, whatever. It is the threat of the situation that the players are in. The effect is how much is accomplished on a success. And then the harm, Hunter can go into that a little bit more, I think, with character generation, but it's a series of levels that impose penalties. And at the 4th level, you die. So you don't have HP, you just have these levels of harm that you tick up. And as you tick those harm levels up, you get reductions to like rolls or stress or things like that. So that's basically how the action roll works. As I said, you pick an approach, you pick a skill, you'll grab any other factors, you roll a number of dice in a dice pool, you pick the highest one, and what you're rolling kind of against is the GM's threat, and the GM picks a threat and effect level. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of conversation. It's a lot of meta narrative, and trust me, again, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Because on top of that, players can resist things in a number of ways, like having armor to reduce any consequences, etc., because there's lots of etceteras. And then there are special actions as well. Special actions are special actions players can do, which usually cause them to gain ticks on a stress track, like taking a breather, which is basically the game's version of rest, or push or assist, as I mentioned before. Those are all special actions that can be taken. There's also a very Bladesy special action called the flashback, which is one of the core aspects of Blades in the Dark, one of the parts that I dislike the most, which basically allows you to establish that something in the past happened that affects the present, but it's not supposed to change what's already currently happening in the present, right? There is a stress system, which is a limiter for the number of special actions you can take. If you do too much, you can overload, which causes one of your approaches to glitch, which we've talked about. We don't believe there's a way to heal that. And if approach is glitched, instead of rolling your approach die, you roll glitch die. And that incurs additional consequences based on the roll. So whatever you succeed or don't succeed at, whatever the glitch die rolls also gives you an additional consequence. The lower, obviously, the worst it could possibly get for you. But regardless, you get an additional consequence no matter what if one of your approaches glitched and you are rolling a glitch die. There are also augmentations, which again, Hunter will talk about that a little bit more, but obviously it's augmenting your body. If you saw the cyberpunk anime, which is surprisingly really good, Edge Runner, you'll understand what we mean by augmentations. And then you also have a quantum inventory system where you basically choose the size of the inventory you want, the size of the load you want. And as you go, might be 3, 5, 7, something like that. You can just say, I have this item now, and then I have it. And that's kind of the way the system works. There is an angle roll at the end, which, as I said before, it's basically just the roll you do to kind of determine the outcome of your character post run. But we'll probably talk about that a little bit more either. But that is basically the mechanics of the game. Does that make sense? You actually ran it. Did I miss anything?
I did. Yeah, no, I think those are all the good basics. I mean, there's a bunch of fiddly little parts in all of this, but I think that's like a true statement of the basics. Yeah. I wish you could scroll through this while I'm talking, because I'm going to scroll through this while you're talking.
That's fine. And but you can't. That's not how we get the stream set up. Yeah. So character generation.
So character generation, honestly, a much shorter part and fairly easy. Characters are made up of a few things. Their angle, which we talked about, the reason why they do things, why they're doing the thing. Approaches, which are essentially like their stats. Skills, which there are several of, what they're good at. Augmentations, which is going to be their like cybernetics, which they all start with I thought was pretty cool, and their load/gear. So you start by picking your character's handle, which is what they're called, and then you pick what drives them, their angle. There is a list of 6 things they can pick from and a little note section under for them to expand on those things. You can roll as D6. That's what my table chose to do because that's the kind of table I run. After that, you will assign 2 dice to an approach, and then 1 singular die to 2 other approaches. The approaches being your stats are aggressive, force, intimidation, destruction, smart, creative, cunning, perception, empathetic, charisma, and stealthy, which for stealthy I just put, yep, you know what stealth is. After that, they can assign 8 dice to whatever skill of their choice. There is a limit of 2 per skill, but if they choose to assign a 3rd die to a skill, instead of getting that extra die, they have the choice of instead taking edge on that skill. It's called expertise. Not a single one of my players made this decision at the table, and I wonder if it's because they a little bit didn't understand edge, which we will talk about, I'm sure, because they didn't understand it. After that, after you pick your skills, and I'm not going to read through all of them because there's several and they're cool. And there's a blank space where you can write your own. And one of my players actually made up his own skill. After that, you are going to they're going to make up an augmentation and give it a name or model number. Their cybernetic augmentation, they can leverage this on an action, or like to get a bonus die for an action or edge on an action, or they can use it to resist a consequence. This will be the marking their special resistance. After they pick their or they make up their augmentation, there's not really a pick list for this. They're going to pick their loadout. So there are a few different loadouts to choose from. You have light, medium, and heavy. This will give you light gets 3 item slots, medium gets 5, and heavy gets 7. There is a description for each of these, and it implies some potential narrative consequences for how heavy their loadout is. So the trade-off is you get more items for your loadout, but you might appear clunkier or move slower. As for the actual items that you get within your inventory, it does work on a completely quantum inventory system, meaning you just pick your load. So say you go in heavy with 7, you don't really pick those items until you want to or you need to. So it gives you a lot of quantum inventory is a thing I think Ryan and I are both fans of. I think it works really well, and it works really well for my players. And that's pretty much it. You have a stress bar that you fill over time that makes up your character. It has I think 7 spaces, which I am of the opinion is too many. And then you get your levels of harm. There are technically 4 levels of harm, but 3 really that you'll fill. You have 2 slots in level 1 harm, meaning you can take level 1 harm twice. There's 2 slots in level 2, 1 slot in level 3, and if you take level 4, you die. And basically the way harm works is that if you already have taken level 1 harm twice and you take it again, that level 1 harm slides down to level 2 harm. Yeah, and that's pretty much the basics of character creation. And what your character is. It's incredibly basic. It would, it's very easy to quickly roll up a character. Yeah.
That's crazy. We did in like 9 minutes what we usually do in an hour. So
I also wrote notes. So
yeah. Well, I'll be curious how this goes when we're doing like a 200-page book. Now that we can do the bigger ones, but I'll try to talk a little bit slower next time, but that's kind of what we're gonna do as far as covering books. So hopefully that segment, because again, that's gonna be a normal segment here on the show, just the rules breakdown and the character gen breakdown that we're gonna go through. So that's basically how the game works. That's how you make your characters, and then maybe we should have done. We can talk about it a little bit in the framework, since you actually ran an adventure and you ran Mind the Gap. We'll talk about that a little bit, but how all of that works. So that covers really the GM guide and the runner file. The next thing that we wanted to talk about, we got a couple of things that are now popping up in my head. Like I said, we should talk about. Nah, that'll come up in the review. So the next segment, I don't know what to call this yet, but the plan is we're gonna each pick something that we really like about the game, and then also something that we are not as big a fans of. I don't want to say we like it or we don't, or we like and we hate, because I don't hate. I mean, I hate a lot. Trust me, my default level is hate.
Ryan's a consummate hater.
Yeah, oh boy, I thrive on it. But just something we like and something that we're not as big of fans of, I think is what this
triumphs
segment
and failures
is.
You know,
yeah, triumphs and is that what you wanna go with?
no.
So first I'll go with something that I really like about Cyber+PNK, right? What did I even write here? I really like how modular and clean it is. We haven't really talked about all of the expansions, but they're fantastic, and
yeah, they're very good.
They're so good. The way that you're able to plug them in, I mean, the fact that they're also called plugins is fucking perfect, you know? So the game it's very simple. It's very streamlined. We'll talk about whether it's too streamlined or not. Eventually we will talk about all the things that we're saying we will talk about, right? But I think a lot more games should really look at this style and think about using this, right? If you're creating a really big game, ask yourself why. Does it need that many subsystems to work? And perfect is the enemy of done. Or would you be able to put out the core of your game and then add things to the game that you could plug in, that you could slot in? Not something maybe so much as like Errant, where you have an entire game of just procedures, right? But really just, for example, Cyberpunk doesn't have magic. Not shipping it with magic is a great idea, and eventually just coming with a plugin for magic is fucking awesome. Yeah. If you want to have Jurassic fucking Park, just have a plugin for that. I love that idea as a setting. And so much of what they did with the expansions was exactly that. Like, I love the Predator setting, and I love Plus Weird, and even the way that they do the adventure in Motorized Megalopolis. I think they're fantastic additions because, again, you can do a little setting plugin, you can do a little mechanics plugin, you can do a little bit of everything, and I really enjoy that a lot. So I think that's the thing I like most about it, is that it's super clean, super, I don't want to say hackable, moddable, you know, like it's very modular, and I really enjoy that about it. You get a core game and a bunch of stuff that you can add on to if you want, as opposed to putting it all in one book and saying ignore these parts, because that's not how people's brains work. Your brain clicks into a mode when you read the book, and it wants you to use everything in the book. Just because you say not to doesn't as much, but having it in a whole separate zine, I think really contributes to that. So that's my like. What about you?
Oh, I thought you were going to do dislike after your like.
I thought you were doing like dislike. Isn't that what we talked about at the start?
No, we didn't. No, go for it. Do your dislike.
No, because I'm gonna rant again. So already
you're gonna rant.
So
okay, cool.
You do your like.
Likes. I like the idea of the one last job. I think narratively it really lends itself to like one shots, and I like that this system has something about it that really lends itself to one shots. Because my dislike will be the thing that doesn't lend itself to one shots. I also really enjoyed the simplicity of putting a character together really quickly. It was a really quick process, and it was very easy for my players to understand at least putting their character together. And they were able to create these people that they liked or had like weird iconic parts to them. And then I also I did a few likes. I think I also liked the idea of like dropping right into the action after picking your engagement plan, which we didn't talk about, but it is a part of the character guide. It's basically how they want to approach each job. They just kind of talk about beforehand, and then you drop right into the job. There's not a lot of like downtime prep, so it felt when we were playing it very action packed.
Yeah, because you actually got to play the game, which is fantastic. I'm really excited to talk about that a little bit more next. So what don't I like about it? This is the part where the first time we did this, the first time we did this, I feel like we talked about Blades more than we talked about Cyber+PNK.
We?
You know? I talked about me. Okay, that's me. I talked about Blades more than I talked about Cyber+PNK. So my goal for this episode, since we're having to redo it, is to talk about Cyber+PNK, but allow myself a little bit of the rant about Blades. So the thing that I don't like as much, again, we're not saying the thing we don't like. We're saying this segment is what we like and thing we're not as big a fan of. What am I not as big a fan of? It's just Blades. I fully understand and appreciate why people do enjoy Blades. I don't. I think John Harper is incredible. I think that a lot of the stuff that he has made is some of my favorite things. I think World of Dungeons is my favorite game of all time. And no, I think World of Dungeons is one of my favorite games. I think that Lasers and Feelings is fantastic. Aegon is good. I like almost everything John Harper has done. I genuinely dislike Blades. I dislike it as a book. I think objectively, I think it's a bad book. I think it's poorly put together. I think it's really difficult to parse. I think it could be cut. I think half of it could be cut off and it would be a better game book. Subjectively, I don't like the system. I think the thing I dislike about it the most is that it quantifies aspects of the conversation, air quotes for people in podcast land, that people say ttrpgs are, in a way that I don't like, because having a conversation with the GM isn't actually, in my opinion, supposed to be like a conversation every single time, where you have to interact with the mechanics in a very mechanical way every time. And I don't understand how a game that is supposed to be like really cinematic can stay immersive and cinematic when you're engaging with the mechanics this much all the time. And you can speak to that a little bit more, especially because you had a bunch of players play for the first time that had never read Blades. Yeah, right. So we'll discuss that a little bit more. But I just don't like the quantifying things like threat and effect. For me as a GM, I like the improv of like coming up with things as we go. Player says something, just say, all right, this is a possibility of the things that could happen. Dope, roll. And then the threat and effect is something that I just don't feel the need to communicate. Like, to me, it just pulls me out of the immersion to have that conversation all the time. And if someone's like, well, you don't need to all the time, well, that's the rules. Like, if you're not going to use the rules, then don't use the rules, right? Like,
and also, can I interject that like threat is how much damage they'll take, right? The threat level is their harm, so you have to. Yeah,
so you maintain like a meta narrative the entire time, as opposed to like staying immersed in the role playing, which is just an aspect I don't like. Again, this is completely subjective. This is a me thing. I know a lot of people that love Blades. It's just a level of scaffolding to a system that I don't want. Like, I don't want to interact with the mechanics of the system that much, that frequently. I would rather have a system that gets out of my way and you only interact with the mechanics when you absolutely have to, as opposed to needing to basically be riding them the entire time. So I would say the thing I dislike about the thing that I'm not as big a fan of is that it's Blades. I think that this game could easily have the Blades hacked off of it, and it would, for me, be a better game. So that is the thing I don't like as much, is that it's Forged in the Dark.
Yeah. And as for me, my notes say also mostly Blade stuff. But like, it is incredibly clunky at the table. Like, it is incredibly meta. Like, I hate to retread over what you just said, but like, it really takes you out a lot of the time. And I'm sure, like, if you get more familiar with Forged in the Dark stuff, like the pacing picks up. But like, you are constantly interacting with these rules in this very meta way. And also, like, this is supposed to be like a one shot. Like, it kind of implies by its form that it's fairly minimalist game. But my players had never played any Forged in the Dark, and so they didn't understand like several things. And so it's like a one-shot system built for people specifically familiar with Blades and Forged in the Dark. Which, yeah, it's supposed to, yeah. It just wasn't. If I want to play a one-shot system, I want it to feel like a one-shot system. It just wasn't as light and as a one-shot system, I believe, could be.
Yeah, I mean, someone on our Discord made the point that really, because Forged is a PBTA child, right? It is a branch off of that thing. It is a system that requires system mastery to make it feel quick and light.
Yeah.
And for people that might be big blades heads, that's fine. But if you're, like you said, if you're doing a one shot, it's hard to gain system mastery in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And especially for a game designed for one shots. It's yeah. So I think for this segment next time, a really great thing in like communicating with people is a sandwich method. Do you know what the sandwich method is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for those
criticism, compliment.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware, yeah, exactly what you just said. If you're talking to someone you want to give them constructive criticism, compliment them, slide in the criticism, and then end with a compliment. When you compliment someone, it'll make them more receptive. When you give them critique, they'll be listening more. And when you compliment at the end, they'll leave feeling good. So I think next time maybe we'll do like, don't, and then like at the end. So the two don'ts are sandwiched between the two likes, so that we can start and end the segment with the good and kind of put that in the bad. I like that. As opposed
I like
to
the
just
reverse compliment sandwich, which is where you insult somebody personally and then you compliment them and then you insult them again.
Yeah. Just
So
keep them on their toes.
It's an evil sandwich. It's a reverse.
Yeah.
Meat on the outside, bread on the inside type of thing.
Yeah, no, I think we'll do that. I think we'll do like, don't. Maybe we'll do a like and a don't, and then a don't and a like, and then that way we can end the segment on a good note before we go into it. We'll see. We'll keep playing with it. You let us. You know what? Let us know. Join the Discord. Like and subscribe.
Even I'm using the Discord now, so we're very
that kind
active,
of stuff.
So.
Crazy. He used it one day. Now he's saying he's very active. Crazy.
I use it 2 days. I'm in it right now.
Okay. So the next thing that we want to do for is actually go into our ratings. Yes.
When do you want me to talk about my play experience?
Oh, let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Yeah, I meant to slide that in here. So you actually got to not only play the game, you ran the starter adventure with people that have never interacted with Blades or Forged in the Dark at all. Yes. Tell me how the fuck that went.
So, I mean, like I said, building a character was really very effortless. But yeah, it was definitely I had more than one comment at my table about how meta the game was. And like, we're not at a table that's like, oh, you can't do that. It's like meta knowledge. Like we never have that discussion. Like, obviously, like we play a bunch of minimalist games. I think that discussion for the most part fairly stupid in most dungeon games. Like, obviously, you and your character can't always be divorced in what you know. But yeah, I mean, my players had a good time, but it definitely felt very clunky running the system. Having to like say the threat and effect level every single time felt clunky for me, and I could tell for them it also felt very clunky. I have 2 other regular DMs at my table as well, and both of them were a little frustrated by the necessity to do that thing. And for the most part, for Mind the Gap is a great starter adventure actually, because it cuts out a lot of the you don't pick an approach and stuff. You really just drop in. And so it allows you to just focus on really the basic mechanics. And I think it's where it really shines. I will say that it's like you're in car 18 trying to get to 22, which is only 4 cars away. And it does give you some ways to like loop stuff back and stuff. But it feels like, oh, I really have to start dropping hints about what's really going on in the scenario before they get to car 22. Because that's actually, I'm not going to say actually, just in case you want to run it. But yeah, you have to drop a lot of hints very quickly in a very condensed way, and they're also in combat. But yeah, I had my players send me the things that they liked and didn't like in a text message. And of the 5 of them, 3 of them responded. And for the most part, it's, they really liked the stats and inventory system, which makes sense. Quantum inventory fucking slaps and is always cool. But they really didn't feel like harm was super meaningful. And they didn't really ever gather what edge meant. I did explain it to them, but it's not in the player guide, which we are going to talk about when we go to the race, but it's only in the GM guide. And I told them to read both, but like, obviously I'm like, we're going to run a one shot and we run minimalist games. So a lot of time for the one shot, they show up the day of. And we just go over the system real quick and we drop in. And this is supposed to be a one-shot system. So we should be able to show up the day of, spend 20 to 30 minutes prepping the system and making characters, and be able to drop in. And we weren't really super successful at that. I mean, they did play the game. They did understand. As for, I mean, they all loved how the stats worked. They really did. They liked the mixed success, which, again, I love mixed success, although I prefer success with consequences instead of partial failure. And yeah, they all felt like harm was fairly like not very meaningful. And they also, speaking of the other track that you feel stress, they all took flashbacks, used their augmentations, and they never filled their stress meter. And like they rolled successfully a lot. And but filling a stress meter is not about failure. It's like things that you do to fill it. And it's just like, well, I mean, it didn't feel super meaningful that they took stress or that they took harm because they just didn't take a lot. And for the harm, it's like, some of them would pull up armor, and so it would lower the threat level. They're like, yeah, well, I have heavy armor now. And it's like, well, that lowers the threat level by a fuck ton, by 2 or whatever.
So the question is, you ran it. So again, I don't mind approach. I think the skills are great. That's kind of how all systems kind of work. You're just deciding on your skills and your stats, basically.
Yeah.
The threat and the effect interaction is a part that really we have feelings about, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that you could have run the same thing, just keeping threat and effect internally, and then getting the result of the roll, and then communicating that after? The way that you do most kind of OSR style games, and the game would have run the same. Like just ignore the part about the players being able to adjust threat and effect.
No, because I mean, I guess I could have run it. It would have worked differently though, because them knowing the threat level made them take choices that they might not have done anyway. Like it is like an integral part of the system and their decision making with like the meta mechanics of this game.
But is it because they're aware of the threat, or because of the specific number of the level? You know what I mean? Because even in OSR games, you always make people aware of the potential consequences, right? That's what I'm saying is, if you just said, all right, like this is something that could possibly happen, and they're like, yeah, that's fine, let's roll with it. That to me feels like it would flow more interestingly and less kind of meta-wise, and being like, well, that's a threat level 3 and the effect is at this and this, so do you want to raise it, do you want to lower it? I think really scooping that out would make this, in my opinion, more playable for me. Someone in chat,
I agree,
some Meat Castle Gameware individual says Blade stuff does require a more writer's room, quote unquote, approach to play that won't work with some tables, and I honestly can't imagine it as a one-shot for folks without experience. It took my core group about 3 sessions before we understood how the flow of play went in Blades, which is a common part of Blades, which is a common part of PBTA. I mean, we've said this over and over again, or I've said it, or I stole it from Aaron King or something. I don't remember. There's 1,000 PBTAs and about 4 good ones. And that's because a lot of people just don't understand it. And the only reason I really understand it as well as I do is because I read Patrick World from Aaron King, which is a better explainer of how PBTA works than the PBTA book.
Than pretty much any other PBTA thing.
Yeah. But it was awesome that you got to actually run it, though, and we get more insight into the game. And what's great about it is, and we've said this over and over again, like, I've never run it, but we've read hundreds and hundreds of games. Like, we can feel, literally, for the most part, how a game is gonna feel, even if we haven't run it, because I have an imagination and an understanding of mechanics. Does it feel like how you thought it would feel?
Yes, it feels
100%.
clunky. Yeah,
it feels clunky.
Like, it is, and we originally said it was like it's very a meta level of interaction, and I think the writers' room thing totally makes sense, and that's how we ran it. But the problem is that like half of my table was really into that aspect of the writers' room thing, but the other half didn't want to do that. That's not how all the other games work. And
that's the thing about Blades and Forged in the Dark and PBTAs and everything too, is if that is the style of play you like, if that is the specific level of scaffolding you enjoy in your mechanics, and you have a whole table of people that feel that way, I bet they fucking sing. You know what I mean? I bet they're wonderful. I could just never be that guy. It's not the way that I enjoy interacting with mechanics. It's not the way I personally enjoy interacting with systems. And again, subjective. This is a me thing, also a Hunter thing, but like that is a for me. That is, I want to do what a lot of people on the fucking internet in this space don't do, and that is to hedge my words a little bit. That is to put qualifiers in. Yes, sir.
A final thing before we're out of time for this segment, we'll move on to the next one. I will say that none of my players chose to resist any consequences.
Good.
Because they were like, no, we're gonna do the fucking.
We're gonna accept the consequences of our actions. Yeah. Well, you said that they did use armor though. which is a form of resistance.
I guess it is a form of resistance, but that just gave them edge in situations, though. Like,
yeah, because
yeah. So they still took consequences from the roll, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah. There you go. All right, so the next segment, what we normally do is, as we said before, we read through the entire fucking book. We're not going to do that anymore. We already went through the mechanics. We already went through character generation. We're still going to go through the metrics. We're still going to give ratings and scores for the games. And what we normally do is 5 metrics for books and 3 for zines. And we've kind of broken that out into 7 metrics because art, layout, and visuals, we usually separate books and zines by art and layout versus visuals. We're going to go through all 7 metrics, whether it's a zine for the most part or a book, but then we're just going to score the 5 or 3 metrics for that specific thing. So this is obviously going to be a zine because even if you add up all of the pamphlets together, you still get like 50 pages. So it's still the zine. But the 7 metrics, or is it 6? I can't count. I think it's 6. The 6 metrics we're going to go over are art and layout / visuals, usability, rule set, originality, value, and vibes. Yes, because rule set is redundant. But in books, what we're always going to do for scores is art and layout, usability, rule set, originality, and value. And for zines, we're only going to score visuals, rule set, and vibes. So after we go through all 6 of these metrics, we will go to actually scoring those 3 at the end, and then that will be the end of the show. So we're going to kick it off with art and layout, aka visuals. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? Or we can kind of converse. Okay, so as I said, cyber+punk, best form factor, one of the top 2 best form factors in tabletop RPGs. I'll give you a little hint at what could possibly be one of the other really great form factors. For those that know, you know. Yeah. If you're in podcast land, you missed out. Watch the fucking YouTube. And I don't think anyone can really argue with it. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. It as a product, it is insane. The art is incredible. The layout all the way through is incredible. Product incredible. Layout incredible. Could probably be award winning, you know, if those mattered.
Probably. If it was up to me.
Yeah, and as a like layout wise, getting real pedantic with some of the stuff, I found one singular typo across all of them. And I'm not saying that I'm fucking perfect, but usually things have typos. I think the only one I found is a very small one. It says "and" specific instead of "a" specific under the augmentations. They just throw an extra "and" in there, right there. And that is the only typo I found. But I mean, visually, when you look at it, I mean, we can talk about this too. Of all, what is it, like 6 or 7 zines, Runner File, which has the least art and stuff, I assume that we'll just knock that one out. Between the GM Guide, the Runner File, and all of the bonus ones, which one is your favorite zine to look at? I have 3 in the top for me, but it's hard to pick from. What do you think?
I'm gonna say Mona Rise.
Yeah, Mona Rise is definitely in my top.
It's definitely like really cool to go through. It visually looks really good. There's like little details that like I love that image on that far right panel of like the city. I'm like, that's a fucking great visualization, you know?
You know what it reminds me of a little bit is in the Troika book, the adventure in the Troika book has like the tower that they go in like all pulled up. It gives me a little bit of that, but also isometrically like, it reminds me of Dirk Detweiler. Yeah. That one slaps. I mean, it's easily in my top 3. For me, it's really a toss up between Predator and Plus Weird. Both of which are stunning. I love the pinks in Plus Weird. I love the cover art with this kind of like gargoyle dude on like a throne, just like no fucks at all. But the Predator one, as soon as you see that, the PR DTR with like the heat signal and the little triangle, cool. I mean, I might have to pick Predator as my favorite one, but artistically, every single one is stunning. I mean, to the small details, even to the back of like the credits on the back of the Predator one are, they even have like the content warning, and it's like the bottom of a movie poster with the different size fonts and stuff. I mean, the attention to detail in the art and layout of this insane. There's not a single bit of missed space visually that isn't absolutely stunning. It might be a tiny bit crowded, but that doesn't bother me because of the format, right? What about you? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm sure I have some. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like mine, we're gonna retread each other sometimes, you know. But like,
That's
I
totally
think the
fine.
art's I think the art's immaculate. Like, I think it looks great. I think the layout is really very good. Although sometimes I do think it can be a little cramped, it still remains readable. And yeah, I mean, opening up the box, what a treat, you know. I
Gorgeous,
mean,
stunning,
I
beautiful.
just look at it. So,
Yeah. I
um,
mean,
I
yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Actually, I think I'm gonna save this next part for usability. So that's kind of it for me. I mean, I think visually, I think it's a very evocative game, and it really like lends to that cyberpunk
yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before when we open it up, like every aspect of it has cyberpunky bits and lines and hazard lines and just the graphic design aspects of it. There's just not a single missed opportunity to reinforce the game, and that's what we've
Yeah.
always talked about with art, layout, and visuals and all that kind of stuff. Is the you don't need a ton of art, you don't need a ton of visuals to have a good game. What's important with the art, the visuals, the layout, everything is that you reinforce the game, the system that you're playing in, right? And that's what's important. And this one does in fucking spades, right?
Yeah.
So next up is usability. So I think next time when we go through the notes, we should just put both of our notes in one section instead of two sections. Did you get that? Yeah. So, because we are going to retread a little bit, but it's fine. So, and if I'm talking about something you're going to talk about, just hop in. So sometimes the rules are scattered between the GM guide and the runner file. And that's what, am I reading your notes? Yep, because we said the same things. First, I will say the GM guide does not feel like a GM guide. I think it should just be the core rules of the game. Like, because there's nothing in the GM guide that is for the GM kind of at all. Like, it, you need to read both as a player, you need to read both as a GM. It's almost just like the rules are split across two zines and you have character generation in one, but it's still important parts, because we've said this before. There's information that's mixed across both pamphlets. Resist is nowhere in the GM guide. It does say nowhere in the GM guide did they say what resistance is. It's only in the runner file. Nowhere in the runner file does it say where edge is, right? And the angle roll, you asked me, you even said, hey, explain fucking angle roll to me. And my response to you in the angle roll was
insane.
So that, what did I specifically say for the angle roll? I said,
it was a scavenger hunt. You're like, okay, read page 1, then page 3, then go to the GM guide, read page 2, and then read page 5, and then 7. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Look at runner file page 1, then page 2, number 3, then page 3, undertake a breather, then GM guide page 3, number 3, then read page 7, which explains the angle roll. Then you'll actually understand the angle roll. That's a lot to kind of understand the angle roll, to kind of parse all the bits and pieces of it. So that's a lot of it as far as usability. I think that the thing that I would say, and I'm sure this was a balancing act, because the original Cyberpunk, I'm sure did not think that it was going to end up being this insane form factor, right? Or this much information. It is definitely a form over function. It was a choice.
The original one is also a pamphlet.
It is a pamphlet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that's what I'm saying, is it's not fucking 7 pamphlets or 12 pamphlets, or, you know what I mean, minus the runner files. There's numerous of them. What I'm saying is, I'm sure there's a limited number of space in each pamphlet. I'm sure it was a difficult decision to decide which one goes in each one, but there was a clear decision for form over function in each pamphlet, because the back of each pamphlet, I mean, realistically, if you look at it, is a lot of, there's a big section, I mean, there's not that big of a section either, is of, like, you know, all of the information you need on it, because there's logos and shit, right? So it's just a decisions I'm sure were made to keep some things in one and some things in the other, and at that point, just say it's 2 pamphlets for the core rules and 1 for the GM. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say that like going towards a positive for usability, other than the fact that like it is a pamphlet, like inherently it is more usable for finding stuff. Did you mention the key terms being highlighted?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So key terms are highlighted in this, and so while it is scattered, you can, and I did actively skim the pages on the 2 pamphlets and easily found them because they are highlighted. They're black highlighted, they're blue highlighted. Most of them are blue highlighted, I believe. But it made finding information I need to reference quickly very easy, and something that I was physically holding and not digitally searching. You know, I think digitally searching also would be equally as easy. I'm just saying, like, often with a book I physically have, it's harder to search for things.
And it is 8 pages, but I will say it is a tight dense 8 pages, and sometimes with the language being as simplified as it needs to be, the angle stuff, for example, you were looking at like 4 or 5 different pages to get all that information, and there are a lot of parts where they use iconography to use that, and I'm torn on that. I think it's great. I think it's a great space saver. I mean, good fucking decision to use.
Put the key on the front page.
Put the key on the front page or across all of the pages or something, because if you put it on the very back page, I'll tell you right now, not everyone is going to open it up and look at every page to see if there's something. This is very much a case.
I'll tell
this
you,
is very much a case
didn't.
of. Oh yeah, this is very much a case of when a teacher gives you that like haha fuck you quiz where it says at the top, make sure you read it all first, and number 20 is don't do any of them, just turn it over, but you do all 19 before you get to number 20 just so they can say you should read the instructions on number 1. You know what I mean? That's what this felt like. Of like, I literally read the entire thing and kept having to flip back to be like, wait, what's the T again, what's the E again? And then on the very back there was like the little iconography thing. So I agree with you, throw it in other places. But super smart for space saving. I mean, if you're going to do form. So that, I think that's a general take for us overall, is that as far as usability, it's great laid out. It's easy to flip through. I also do love the way that they did, like, you open it up and the 2 pages are 2 and 3, and then you open it up again and that spreads out more. But there are some choices where they clearly chose or needed to, because of the form factor, choose form over function. And that's usability. So for a rule set, what I wrote was almost every issue I have with the game rule set wise is that it's forged in the dark, and I'm not gonna go any deeper in that. We've beat threat and effect to death, but I will say
I can do this one. If you have a hand up to not do. Like laying about what Blades in the Dark.
But I do want to say this other part, because I did look up the page numbers for that. If the entire game can be presented in 2 8-page pamphlets, it begs the question why Blades in the Dark is 327 pages long, 209 of which is before setting stuff. So if I can get Blades in 16, in what amounts to 8 pages, because it's 16 pamphlet pages, why do I have 209 pages in Blades? It doesn't. That's what I'll say about that. Otherwise, for me, for the rules, as a Forged in the Dark game, if I set aside my subjective brain and put on my objective brain, I think if you enjoy Blades and understand the Blade system, I think this is incredible. I think it's fantastic.
Totally.
And then
agree.
And then on top of that, the modularity, the plugins, the plugin settings, all of that, fantastic. Rule set wise, again, with it setting aside my issues with Forged in the Dark, I think this is clean. I think it's smart. I think it's really, really well done. I think it's really well put together. I think the parts that they do add to make it cyberpunk make it, for me, a better game than Blades for what it does. The final run aspect in cyberpunk versus like the heist aspect in like the weird steampunk magic thing that is Blades, I think to me is a much more successful rule set and does what it wants to do better than Blades does what it wants to do in that setting. What are your thoughts on the rules?
I personally have wiped Blades from my memory almost completely. I've tried. Yeah. So like, I'll pick out things, and obviously they're Forged in the Dark things, but the dice pool mixed success is great. I love it. I think it's a fantastic aspect. My players loved it, and I realized I've not been doing enough mixed success games with them, so we'll do more because they really enjoyed that part. And I was like, oh yeah, I love that. I should run more of that.
Success with consequence.
Success with consequences.
Let's make that.
Which is what I would do in another game. Yeah, the loadout and quantum inventory I thought was great, and it works really well. I think maybe for not Mind the Gap, it worked better because there's less like moving around. In Mind the Gap, you're really just dropping. So it doesn't really matter if you're like conspicuous or whatever. It does matter if you're slow. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I do think that this game suffers from like buzzword syndrome, where it's a little more confusing maybe than it needs to be because it needs to use its own individual buzzwords instead of just calling a thing. Which, yeah, some games do. And as for the stress and harm, I think the stress bar is about 2 points too long, and I think harm suffers from a similar issue. And qualifying that maybe that the condensed nature of Mind the Gap influenced how I feel about that. It'll be interesting because I actually am probably going to run this some other time for the same group again, and we'll see how it goes from there. Not Mind the Gap again, a different adventure. But yeah, I think maybe those could be shortened to make it feel a little bit more meaningful and harm to hit a little harder. Because if they succeed on a bunch of rolls, they're not taking harm. Which in other systems where it's not mixed success, like even if they succeed a lot, they'll take damage. But in this one, like if they're succeeding, they're not going to. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, it's feels a little dense and clunky, but I think there's great parts in it that my players really latch to, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that the best parts of this are things we do see in other systems. Dice pool, success with consequence, things like that.
You're completely right.
It's just the most bladesy part of the parts that we were less of a fan of, and we felt. But again, it's buzzwordy because it uses the buzzwords from Blades. You know what I mean? Like, I think one thing you put in here that I don't think you mentioned was Edge, when like advantage works just fucking fine.
Oh yeah, like it's not quite advantage because you're not rolling extra dice, but it does give you. Yeah, it is an advantage in the situation.
Right. So originality is the next bit. We don't need 5 minutes for this. It's hard to give a lot of originality to this. It is Blades in the Dark and it is cyberpunk. Two things that have been beat to fucking death. I think the form factor is very original. I think that's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because, I mean, show me another... I mean, I have some pamphlet box. I can pull out some other pamphlet box sets, but I would not want to put them to shame compared to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I have a Terror of the Cosmos or whatever for Mothership. I'm like, that's a really great one, but this is like on another level, frankly.
It's on another level. It's on another level in every fucking aspect, not just specifically for that, but I mean, just in a form factor in general. And that's about it for that. So value-wise, value, as we've said before, value is, I didn't really explain what these are. Remind me to do that next time. I usually say how we quantify our terrible opinions with metrics. I can put that at the end, though. So value is bang for your buck. It's not just the cost of a thing. It's what you get for the thing, right? So value-wise, cost-wise, from Mythworks on their website, which is... myth.works, www.myth.works. You can snag this for $29.99, digital files included, which is a fucking
insane
steal.
It's insane.
A fucking steal. Considering there are some publishers out there that are trying to charge like, $30 for a 50-page zine and then another $15 for the fucking PDF. $30 for this is insane. It's a fucking steal.
And listen,
even if you never play this game, just physically getting it, every time I see this on the shelf, I'm excited to just open it up and look at how fucking cool it is. For $30, that's crazy.
And I know that we were critical of it. Because this is just not the type of game that Ryan and I really gravitate to. It does do the thing it does in that style well, but this is potential hours of gameplay. This is, I want to run a one-shot tonight gameplay, and you can make a one-shot so easily. If you were into Forged in the Dark stuff, this is so much playtime for $30, and it's cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're into hours, this is months of play if you're
Right.
into Forged in the Dark.
You run Mona Rise,
Months
it's like
of
that's
play.
like, you know, yeah.
Dude, Mona Lisa Rise, we didn't even get into how fucking cool Mona Lisa Rise is, but
Not Lisa.
fuck off whoever wrote that too, and if it's William Gibson, fuck you too. Mona Rise Megalopolis, how cool that is, and how it's basically just like a series of, I think, 6 or 7 tables. You roll on all of them and you have an adventure, and a fucking cool one, on top of everything else that you can throw in this, including the Predator adventure. I mean, potentially months of play for $30 is insane. And if you just want the PDF, the digital bundle on itch, which is from the Cabinet of Curiosities itch page, which is, we'll make sure the links are down below too. It is it's Emanoel EMANOELMELO.itch.io, the Cabinet of Curiosities. That is the creator. You can find it on their itch page for $19.90. So it's about $10 less if you just want the digital. So for $10 more, and also let's talk about how much you charge for your PDFs and fucking prints real quick. Give me 10 seconds. The PDF is the fucking game. Charge the price for the PDF and then just charge how much it costs for the print for the book and give the PDF too. I don't understand how that's hard. If it costs you $5 to print the game, right? Charge $20 for the PDF and $5 for the book. So it's $25. Like, this isn't hard. Charge more for your PDFs and less for your fucking books, and just give
I am
both.
super of that opinion as well.
Jesus
Charge
fucking
for your PDFs.
Christ.
The people undercharge for the PDFs, but like that is in fact the meat of
game.
what you're doing. You
And
know?
if you think somehow the PDF and the book are different and you should charge the same amount for both, if you want $30 for a PDF and $30 for a book, there's not a fucking hardback book out there that costs $30 to print. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, so I would say best deal, obviously, just get the physical. My God, for $30, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. Vibes for me, I mean, we've said this on a number of things. I'm not really a cyberpunk guy. I'm not really a Forged in the Dark guy. If you were like, hey, I ran Mind the Gap for my buddies, let me run it for you too, I would say, fuck yeah, let's do it.
we run something else. So
yeah, but would I run this? I would not.
Yeah.
I would not. I would not run. I would play this. I would not run it.
Whereas I'm like, you know, I'm still fairly open to running something else in this. I am not going to interact with threat and consequence out loud again. I will do the classic thing where I'm like, hey, like, this is a bad situation. You know, if you try to do this in this bad situation, like, it might go badly. You know, I'll do the classic thing.
Yes. And let me then amend my thing. If I played it like I would run a game, I would play the hell out of this. Like, I want to play Predator so fucking bad, dude. Like, I genuinely would. And you know what? Maybe Michael Elliott, shout out Michael Elliott, it's been on the show before, love the work. Probably the first Forged in the Dark we ever talked about was the Forged in the Dark solo game. Merger. Incredible. They have offered to run Blades for us many times. I wonder if he'd be willing to run Cyberpunk for us. I know it might not be actual quote unquote Blades in the Dark, but I wonder if he would run this, because if he would run Cyberpunk for us and I could shut the fuck up and not, like, you know, talk about threat and effect the entire time, that would be great. But I would play this, specifically this, just scooping out threat and effect in a heartbeat. I also would love to incorporate so much of this into other games. I think Plus Weird is incredible, and I think the entire way that Mona Rise Megalopolis is put together is incredible. They all are. All of the bonus pamphlets are fantastic. And we didn't even talk about Framework, which is also a really incredible, like, GM's guide to creating adventures and stuff like that in short and long form. But yeah, as far as vibes go, if I remove the Forged in the Dark aspects from my brain, my vibes are much higher on this. As is, it's just my subjective opinion on just liking that system less. So the next thing that we're gonna do, that's all of our metrics. That is it. So the next thing we're gonna hop into is the scores we're giving for the metrics. As I said before, or as I normally say, we quantify our terrible opinions with these metrics. We score them on a 1 to 10 basis for zines, which we're calling this a zine. There's only 3. It is visuals, rule set, and vibes, up to 10 points for each, for a max of 30 points based on everything that we just talked about. We've already discussed in depth the visuals. It's fucking beautiful. The form factor's incredible. What do you think for visuals? What score are you throwing down for this? 10. Easy 10.
Easy 10,
right?
Easy, like an unbelievable 10. It's a number that we rarely give out in visuals. It's an effortless 10 here.
I think we've given it to zines more, but that was the point of making it not art and layout, but as a whole encompassing thing, was to give a little bit more wiggle room and a little bit more for that. So easy. I think it's one of the easiest 10s I've ever given for visuals.
Yeah.
Rule set. I'm curious because you've actually run it. You have a much different opinion. I'm curious. I don't know if you remember what we did last time. Don't guess if you don't know. So I'm curious what your number specifically is compared to what it was last time before you actually ran the game.
Objectively, I think this is a solid forged in the dark game.
Right.
Objectively. Subjectively. I don't really care for that. I think I dislike it less than you do. But it's still not like my modus operandi. Like still not like the operation that I want to do in my games.
It didn't win you over to Blades.
No, but I think it's still solid, and I think it might be even more solid than Blades, because it's shorter and it's easier to understand. And there are some little tweaks I did actually go. I've been joking. I did actually go through Blades last night and skimmed it and like looked at little tweaks. And there are a couple little tweaks that I think do work better, especially because flashbacks always cost something and they're never free. That's stupid. Why would they be free? Blades. Yeah. So I think for the rule set, I'm feeling like a solid 7. You know, maybe an 8 if I liked it more, but it's just really not. I don't know. What do you think?
A 7 is what we gave it last time, and that's about how I feel. I think we were like 6 to 7 last time, and this time we're like 7 to solid 7.
I think it was clarified more. If I didn't have to search through, like if it didn't feel so scattered, if it was a little more condensed.
Form over function.
I think that there's room for it to go up. And I think if you like Blades and you play this, you're like, this is a fucking 9 to me. You're probably right for you, you know?
Yeah, for you. This is one of the ones I feel like we do a pretty good job most of the time of hitting objective and subjective together on most things. This again, it's just not our game. But again, it's okay to go over something that's not your game as long as you clarify over and over again. This is definitely subjective, right? This is not objective, right? I think the game is incredible. It's just not necessarily for me. I think it's a solid 7, and I do think that it does Blades better than Blades.
I agree.
I think it has a more focus. I think it has a better focus. And I think it tweaks things better, which I would love. Instead of whatever just came out, the new Blades book with 150 more pages, I would love to see a Blades 2E, where instead of giving me 150 pages, you just chop 150 pages out of the original book, reorganize it, clarify it a little bit better, and give me something that I love as much as I love all of the rest of John Harper's stuff. For rule set, though, I think 7 for this is solid. Vibes. I think this is one where I think... I'm not sure what the score is. I'll click on it in a second. For me, I think my vibes are actually up a little bit. I genuinely think that hearing your critique of the game after you've ran it, after your players thought about it, and how it could be adjusted a little bit, raises my vibes a tiny bit. I'm not sure what, but what do you think as someone who ran it, as someone whose players have given you their feedback?
So I want to run it again. So at least that, I'm not like bouncing off the walls to run it again. Like I'm bouncing off the walls to like run like Varn,
Right.
But I think this for me again is like another solid like 7. I think like
all right.
I am looking forward to running this game. I am looking forward to using Mona Rise Megalopolis. Like I'm looking forward to like engaging with this more.
Yeah. Well, that actually, we gave us 6 last time, and now that you've run it and want to engage with it a little bit more, we're going to give it a 7. I mean, I'm definitely going to be conceding to you on these because once again you ran it like fucking 3 days ago. So that is for a total of 24 out of 30, which is still a pretty darn freaking good score.
Very solid.
A 10 on visuals. God, if it could get a fucking 12, you know, crazy. A 7 for rule set, a 7 for vibes, for a total score of 24 for cyber+PNK from Cabinet of Curiosities, Emanoel Melo and Mythworks. Once again, I'm going to try to have this episode out by the end of the weekend, which will give you until July 10th to go back cyber+PNK Overload, which is the first and a massive expansion for this game. And here's the thing, and I'm going to be completely honest, even if I never run or play this game, I backed that shit to the fucking hilt. Like in a heartbeat, even just so I can look at how beautiful it is and be excited once again to pull it out. I want to write a Blades hack that just takes out all the Blade stuff so that people can run their Blade stuff in the way that in a more, I guess, quote unquote OSR style. And then I would play the hell out of this. But if you want to run Predator for me or Mona Rise Megalopolis.
There we go.
Maybe we'll get.
Or
maybe
Mona
we'll get
Lisa
around
Smiles, you know, like
dude, that's exactly what I fucking keep wanting to say is Mona Lisa Smile.
Movie,
I don't. Yeah, but I don't remember what it's about.
It is.
It's not like Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
It's starring Julia Roberts. Yeah,
I've never seen it. So that is the episode. We did it in less than an hour and a half, which is fucking awesome. I think this is about what we're going to shoot for every time. Let's cut over to this. Real quick on what the plan is for next week. No fucking clue.
No idea.
But tomorrow we may or may not stream. And if you're watching this in VOD form, you're not going to see this, I guess. But so you know what might happen next time. This is my thought for, it's called Not Weekly War Games. And me and Hunter have a thing kind of set up where every Saturday-ish we try to hop into
some VTT.
Yeah, Foundry, or what's the one I'm trying to think of?
Tabletop Simulator.
TTS, Tabletop Simulator. My brain kept going VTT. That's not right. We try to hop into Tabletop Simulator or something and play a war game. Play a skirmish game, play something. Or Chris P. Wolf has been playing. Me and him have been playing a bunch. We've been playing my game that I might put out soon,
which I thought was great. I played it. Ryan and I played it like 2 weeks ago, and I shot him full of bullets. So
yeah, fucking wrecked the shit out of me in my own game in 2 rounds. It was perfect. I loved it. It was great. And then we've also been playing some Warcock, some Wanted. And then a bunch of other stuff from Tanner Simpson, which is fantastic. Me and Chris P. Wolf has. But tomorrow, you and I, or you, because you've read it more, but I've read it, and I don't know if you saw what I picked. Dead Souls, surprising nobody.
I did see what you picked. I still haven't picked. Yeah. There's like 3 armies that I'm like, what's one of the 3? There's only like 4, but
we are going to be testing out Malagast from Tom Bloom, who is one of the creators of Lancer, who has done Kane, which is a ttrpg that we're going to talk about the the only other time that we have an episode that didn't come out. And we're gonna check that out. We might stream that, but if we do, it's not gonna. It's almost guaranteed not to go to Pod or YouTube. It'll just be here on the show, which is something that we want to start doing a little bit more. We want to start doing some hobby time on the show, painting, hanging out, video games,
kissing,
war game stuff. Yeah, making out through the phone. You know,
kissing through the phone.
Yeah. But we're going to start doing that. So catch us maybe on some Saturdays for Not Weekly War Games. And tomorrow, as I said, whether we stream it or not, we're going to be checking out Malagast. We'll let you know next week during the intro session how Malagast went. That's all I got. How about you?
That's it.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.